Hi, welcome to the Leadership Tea podcast, where we talk about not only what it takes to get to the senior level, but also what it takes to thrive once you're there. And today, I think we're having a conversation that really is very much in line with that theme. And that is a conversation about a recent report from McKinsey and the Lean In organization. And in that report, they are talking about the state of women in the workplace and feelings that women have about feeling burned out, unsupported, and in need of sponsorship and allyship in the workplace. And so that's just sparked some ideas here. And Shelby and I wanted to share with you today quotes that stood out for us in the reporting and the report itself, and also our ideas on how we can better support each other in the workplace. So, Shelby, maybe you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll just hop right into it. The quote that stood out for me the most from this report: women are hitting the top of the corporate ladder only to find something waiting for them: exhaustion.
Yeah.
That spoke to me because we have discussed oftentimes how tired and how lonely leadership is. And I remember in one of my senior roles, just this feeling of not having enough of me to do everything that was required when it came to the job, when it came to being a wife, when it came to being a mother. Oftentimes, women are reaching these senior roles just at the pivotal moments at home when our kids have different needs of us. And for me, it was my ascension into a senior leadership role coincided with my kids being teenagers. And one of the things that I've been talking about a lot recently with other women who are trying to find that balance between professional life and being a mom is that your kids, you don't realize it, but your kids need you more when they're teenagers. And this became apparent to me during some difficult moments in my children's adolescence and adjusting to being teenagers and adjusting to being back in the United States after living abroad for a while. And so this quote about, exhaustion at the top of the corporate ladder as you're ascending the corporate ladder struck me because I recall just trying to figure out, how do I manage it all? How do I create the systems at home and at work that will allow me to shine and be my best, to do my best in all of these roles? This is something you and I talk about a lot. It's one of the main reasons why we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I did was to communicate with my team and with my boss in a way where they understood, okay, Shelby is not available during this time. And I'll just give an example. In the evenings, there was a moment when my daughter was playing water polo, and I would rush home from a high profile position, a very demanding position, and I would leave the office and tell people, listen, I got to leave the office at 7:15 p.m. Like, whatever is happening in the world is going to have to happen, but I need to leave the office by 7:15 so that I can get my daughter to water polo practice. And I would put a calendar reminder with a color so that people would know, okay, the boss is leaving between 7:15, like, she's out. And that allowed me to kind of set expectations and to model behavior for them so that they would know that it was okay for them to also establish those boundaries and to communicate, with me when they needed to be away, if there was something significant happening, in their personal lives that they needed to attend to. And this was a small thing, but it also signaled, to my boss an expectation that this was time that was important to me, that I needed to be there for my daughter, and that only in the most extreme circumstances should anyone try to interfere with that time. And in doing that, it made me feel less guilty. And just communicating this block of time is important. It made me feel less guilty about being a mom and needing to be there for my daughter, but it also modeled behavior that I wanted other women, particularly on my team, to emulate, and for them to know that there are ways, there are micro mechanisms that exist for us to still perform at these high levels as we assume more responsibility, and to still be, who we need to be at home.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I also reflect back on there's a moment living overseas where as I looked at my colleagues around me, I saw that many women around me, they were in a culture where they were allowed to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? They were allowed to like hire help, ask for help, help was all around. And there's something about the US also where there's a sense that like, oh, well, you've made life choices. You know, you asked to be in this position, so sucks for you. Also, nobody told you to like, have a partner or, have children or get a dog or like whatever. That's on you. Figure it out. That's your problem. And if you can't balance it all, that's somehow a failure on your part. You as an individual should be able to do all of that. But when I look around the world, I don't see that elsewhere. Again, once you hit a certain point in terms of your responsibility and your income, people exercise the right to have a housekeeper, have a nanny, have somebody help with the shopping, have somebody driving, help, right? And there's just something about it here about not being allowed to ask for help. And then I also, as you were talking, I was thinking a lot about how I've done something similar to what you just described, but I've also been in environments where my leadership didn't even want me to do that. I've been in spaces where I felt like I had to, my bosses would say, oh yeah, yeah, you can totally just like block out your daughter's volleyball practice and it's once a week. Yeah, yeah, you can totally as long as you're available for the team, like that's fine. And no, that was not the expectation at all. It was, what do you mean you need to open your laptop and be available and be working and be like have your foot on the neck of your team and not watching volleyball. Um, there's a season of volleyball I didn't see. There were days that season where I would somehow be able to get my daughter to volleyball practice, but then I would have to be on camera in something, right, in a corner, and I would have to be texting my husband to say like, I know I'm at the practice, but I'm not at the practice. So can you actually come pick her up and take her home? Because I actually can't even get away from my computer enough to do that. And I don't know a way out of that, right? My way out of that was to leave that job. But
Mhm.
not everybody has that choice. And that was a really hard choice to make. But I know that ultimately living like that wasn't sustainable. Like it was, and again, the energy was, hey, well, you wanted leadership. Like, but when I looked at the men around me, they had structures
Yeah.
supporting their personal lives that I somehow didn't have. And I
Yeah.
remember being in a conversation once with someone senior, more senior than me in a particular role, and they were like, "We pay you so that you can hire the people you need to hire." Like,
Just do it.
sucks for you. So again, that is so I really understand this idea of feeling burnt out. I would also say feeling trapped. And I don't know an easy solution for it other than there's something culturally that needs to shift,
Yes.
both in our professional culture, but the culture writ large. Because again, it feels like if you so much as need to go home to walk your dog, it feels like the culture is saying, nobody told you to get a dog.
Yeah.
Like, when you need companionship? Like, what's that? That's your problem. Type this memo, right? So that's
Same.
what I struggle with, the tension of I get it why people don't want to be promoted or don't want to move forward because they feel burnt out once they get there.
Yeah.
I don't
It's not
know.
a question of ambition. It's not that women are becoming less ambitious. It's like you said, Belinda, there's this cultural penalty for women who have decided that they want to have fulfilling careers. And in many instances, there more and more women are like the lead breadwinner at home. And yet we place these unrealistic expectations where they're supposed to give 100% on the job and give 100% as moms and give 100%, as partners. And it's just impossible to comply and live up to these social constructs that we have imposed. And as you said, in other cultures, it's totally acceptable to ask for help. And so why are we not encouraging more women to ask for that help? And the one thing that I left out in the example that I gave of being at water polo practice, I would immediately log on while I was in my car waiting for my daughter in practice, like waiting on Olivia at volleyball practice. I'm still working. I'm still, in my mobile office, literally in my car, in the
Yeah.
parking lot
Yeah.
of the facility, wherever, Viola had her practice. I'm still working up until, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Whenever her practice ends, I'm in the car doing my thing. And then when we get home and after I've, given her dinner or whatever, I log back on again. So it's like it's not this false narrative of, well, you're just not you're not performing, you're lazy. It's almost as though if you're not in the office burning yourself to the midnight oil, that there's this perception of you're not carrying your weight. And
Yeah.
it's so unfair. We need these structures in place. And the one point that I would make before turning it back to you is we need to create structures that help us to remove the guilt and to prevent burnout. And by that I mean, I started ordering my groceries online. I started outsourcing my dry cleaning, where I would sign up for a delivery service, leave the dry cleaning outside of my home and have
Oh,
them come and pick it up. Like everything that I needed in place to make life easier and smoother and less hectic and stressful, I started to put these systems in place, and I removed this inner guilt from myself. Like, I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better, fill in the blank, because I have these systems in place where I feel that I have the support that I need and I'm not stressing myself out or my family. And guess what? I'm also sharing these tips with the women on my team so that they too can feel
yeah.
less
Yeah.
guilty and less burnt out.
One regret I have, and I've been thinking about lately, I might look into in 2026, is I wish I had gotten a house manager when I was in the US.
Yeah.
Like I need a house manager, and that seems to be a growing trend.
Mm-hmm.
So I need like an assistant or somebody, right? Who's like,
Yeah.
actually, I'm gonna work on getting the dry cleaning picked up, right? And yes, my husband does a lot. He does a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot to living in America. Like there's a lot of things that have to be coordinated that I don't feel like I have the burden of elsewhere. I just have more help. I just have more
Yeah.
help, right? So,
You had more help, but you also had the understanding that help was okay.
and that help was okay. Yes. I used to joke that there was a point, there was a country we're in where my nanny had a nanny, you know?
Mhm.
Like one day I'm talking to the nanny and she's like, hold on, I gotta call my kid's nanny. Like, we gotta, yeah, I gotta arrange.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, you know what? A, I'm paying you enough. Yay. But
That you
B,
can afford.
you can
Yes.
afford, yeah, so for it, but also like you see that like we all
This
need
is
help.
helping you too. Yes.
And just watching the women in my office, they just that hour that you aren't like in America, you're told like you got to cook this home cooked meal or else like your kid won't love you. And
We're going to be fine.
wow, like this takeout's okay because now that hour instead of me like doing something or my husband doing something, now we're all just engaging,
Yeah.
right? Like we got that hour back. Now, oh, did you show up at school today? Did you
We can actually
do
have
your
a
homework?
conversation. I
Yeah,
can,
like
like, yeah,
right?
communicate with you.
Like, are there activities? Like, yeah. So no, I think that it's that. It's just being able to ask for support. But I think for me, when I was looking at the report, in some of the media reporting, was focused on this idea that people don't feel like they have sponsorship and that they don't have, again, this idea of support, real support within the organization. But I'm going to focus for a moment on this idea of sponsorship, not just
Mhm.
allyship. And I'm going to focus on it from the point of when I was in those spaces, feeling like I never wanted to repeat the hazing that I went through as I came up the ranks, where people were like, I don't know, Belinda, write this extra memo and we don't care that you haven't had an opportunity to like do your laundry in weeks and you're coming to work in dirty clothes. Like I didn't want people to feel like that. So where I have been able, and this is hard, like where I have been able to give people space to take the time they need to do stuff without feeling guilty. Like, yeah, you need to take off a few hours to well, here's a good example. Like again, I'm gonna use a pet example because I just feel like they're universal. I remember seeing an employee in a hallway crying because their dog had just been diagnosed as like terminally ill and needed to be put down that day.
Mm.
And they felt like they couldn't take off work. Like their partner was going to take in the dog. They weren't going to get to say goodbye. I was like, that's crazy. Like there's nothing happening here right now that you can't take today, especially a day that can't be repeated,
Yeah.
right? What good is it to have you here in this seat in grief? Like you're not producing. So I need you to go and like take care of the things that you need to take care of. I don't understand why like bosses can't see that. Like forcing someone to be present or forcing someone to do something when they just aren't able to focus isn't going to get me the outcomes that I need. So go do what you need to do so you can come back here and be here and present for me,
Right.
right? So that is something that I would often try to do. And then on the sponsorship piece, it's really how am I investing in talent? Again, like I feel like training and supporting and giving people projects and opportunities to stretch and grow and mentoring them through that, not just handing them a project and saying like, yeah, good luck with that. Hope you make it.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I need you to do, here are the outcomes, and here's how I need you to implement it. And it's gonna take some time. But a 30-minute conversation from me to help an employee navigate something is worth hours of drama and problem solving on the back end, right? So I've now don't have to deal with that. But I've invested in you, I've set you up for success, I've put you in touch with the right people. Like you have an opportunity to grow because so much about getting people to these senior level roles is about getting them in the right spaces, helping them understand how to navigate politics. And that doesn't like that's hard, but that is part of the job. And I know it's hard right now, but like I think that it's something I thought about a lot is how can I be the change that I wanted to see?
Yes. And that's leadership. That is what leadership looks like. I think sometimes some of us are so caught up in ourselves that we just don't give space or opportunity to, the people around us, the people who are reporting to us who need, the investment that you just described. And we're so caught up in thinking that everything begins and ends with us that we miss opportunities to invest in others and to succession plan and to sponsor and shape and mentor the next generation to keep institutions going. But you have to be willing to look beyond yourself and to not assume the worst in people. As you were talking, it it also made me think about something that I think is embedded in American culture, this like unspoken animosity that we seem to have for one another, where we just assume the worst. We assume that, oh, this person is lazy, they don't really want, to get the job done, or they're not really ambitious, without really just taking a moment to see the person as a whole person. As you mentioned, the example that you gave of the person who had an issue with their pet. Like if we would just take a moment to have a more humane approach to one another, I think the results could be amazing in our workplaces. It just depends on what is the culture that you want to cultivate.
Yeah, no. Someone asked me earlier this week, in a conversation, how do you receive support from other people when someone does something for you? How do you receive that? And as I thought about it and I was answering it, I eventually told them, when I'm here, I realized when I'm here in America, I have that reaction. Oh, you're doing something for me? Oh, now what do I owe you? Are you
Mm,
keeping score? What are you really trying to do? Like, now I look weak. Now I look vulnerable.
yeah.
when I'm other places, it's like I don't know, offer, I meet you on the street and you're like, come to my restaurant and have a free meal. And I'm like,
You're
it's
like,
just normal. It
yeah,
feels normal,
okay.
right? That's what people do. They meet each other, they like each other, like, come on, let's keep talking. Here, there's something, like you said, there's something going on where there's just this lack of trust and there's this lack of normalcy
Yeah,
about just engaging with people,
yeah.
and I don't know how we're gonna fix that. But I definitely feel, and I often talk about feeling that difference, even at a gate when you're ready to get on a plane. Like I'll travel all
Mhm.
over the world, and then it's my last flight before flying back to the US, right? You get to the gate for your US bound flight, and all you feel is tension. Tension
That's
that you didn't
so
feel on other
true.
flights, right? Everybody's at the gate like, if you push your seat back too far, if you, oh, why is that baby crying? Like, why?
Mhm.
So I try to remind myself that I don't want to be a part of that tension. I want to run counter to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. That feels like I need to get on a flight and go. I need a beach vacation. I need an island.
I'm ready.
Like,
Palm trees, a fruity beverage with an umbrella
woo,
in it. Yes.
I'll feel more like helping people, like seeing the best in everyone.
Seeing the best in everyone. I think fundamentally, yes. I think the study, the McKinsey study and our conversation, it's a reminder for executives and leaders to think about what is the culture that you want to cultivate in your workspace, in your work environment. Are you trying to keep it light? Are you trying to give people the benefit of the doubt? How are you modeling the behavior that you want them to emulate is the bottom line. How can we work together to reduce anxiety and stress and to prevent burnout? There are ways to do it. We have to be willing to facilitate environments where people feel comfortable asking for help and where people feel that they can be empowered to build the structures that they need in their lives to help them.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like drop it in the comments. Like, what's your reaction to this report? And what can we do differently in the culture to better support people? 100%.
absolutely. Absolutely. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us, you really need to come over to YouTube to see our smiling faces. We invite you to subscribe to the Leadership Tea podcast on YouTube. We're really supportive. We're really grateful for the support that we've gotten from all of you from across the world. We're really appreciative of this community, and we look forward to sipping wisdom and stirring success with you again real soon.